Arisa, thank you again for chatting with me. It's been sort of a long time coming, less than 2 weeks away from the finale. Is the season kind of living up to your expectations? And what are you enjoying the most, I guess?
Well, every year when the season starts, other than it being like Christmas for me, like Christmas ain't got nothing on a new season of Big Brother Canada. I always come in with high expectations, and I think it's such a new thing every time because we have new people. That's why I feel like the formula is so brilliant. To me, it'll never get old. Because we're always injecting new people into this experience, and sometimes some old ones. I am thrilled by this season. I think the gameplay, we've seen some of the absolute best, like top tier level gameplay, and we've seen also some of the absolute worst gameplay we've seen in a long time. So based on that, I'm thrilled. I'm loving how we really stepped our game up in terms of the comps, and really leaned into making them as clever as we can. I don't get as much out of like people just running back and forth with balls. Like
Yeah.
I want there to be some real thought that goes into how you play in each game, be strategic, and feel like something new that they haven't seen before. I think it's so easy in a 12th season of any show to kind of take your foot off the gas. It is something we will never do. Like every department head is on 100. And I think it shows like the attention, the care that we pour into the show on every level, from our supervising producer, Aaron Brock, who is like this like captaining this wild ship, to Corey Bell, who's responsible for some of these incredible challenges, really original ones. I think that's why we've led to a game where, it's final five, and everybody has won one, if not two competitions. I love that. There's no like also rans, there's no goats in the Big Brother sense. I really love that anything can happen. And the pacing of the season's been really good too. Like I don't feel like it had a big dip. I feel like we were just like careening towards a finale, and that's how I want it to feel. Like give me more, as opposed to, all right, is it over yet?
No, I know exactly. It's kind of fun that compared to Big Brother US, especially because it's a shorter season, it's just like the end game is actually fun. It's not as boring and you're just not sitting there. So I do appreciate
Are
that.
you
And
trying to get me in trouble? Are you trying to
I'm
get me in
just
trouble?
no,
I
I'm just
will,
saying.
I will speak on this show. I think it is so important to feel like there's a million different moves any player can make, and there's always a way out. That I think has not changed at all. I think I love it short and snappy too. Like I want to just get to it. I want to see people under pressure of not only game and living in this environment, but also time. Like there's only so much time to make a big move, for example. And here comes my 4-year-old.
Oh,
Name, you want to come say hi? This is as real as it gets right here. This is my
I
little
love
one.
it. Hello.
So yes, I am a mother of 3. So as you can
Busy
imagine,
woman.
life is chaotic. Okay, gonna head up. Hey, grandma's right there, babe. Um, where were we?
No, you were just talking about like the end of the season being exciting and not being just, like a run to the end. It's fun. Also like we saw Kevin Jacobs come back. I think it was what, last week. This week we saw a bunch of players in the HOH comp. That was just fun. Is that something that you guys make a concerted effort to like really give those callbacks to fans and have these returning players pop in and out?
Said I love an Easter egg, and I really do feel like these house guests are family. I think we're at like 180 or something like that. And I
Wow.
remember every single one of those evictions or the finale night, if it came to that for them. I remember what I was wearing. I have such recall, a total recall of season after season after season. So to be able to sort of give that little wink and nod to the seasons past, to our thank you. Just close the door, please. Thank you. That's my 14-year-old coming through. But I think everyone loves to see that. And not everyone has seen all these seasons. I'm sure some people are like, who dat? But I love to see it. I know a lot of our super fans love to see it. And of course, we haven't done a legit All-Stars yet. So in a way, this is our nod to these people who are part of our family like forever. Once you're on a BB Can season, like we're yours and you're ours for life. And I love that. And I really feel like very maternal towards them. After that HOH competition in the double, they sat in the audience and it was like, I could recall, like, you went out in a double, you went out in a double, you went with Mata because you could have done more. Oh my God, just, you know what I mean? I love being able to have that familiarity with them because I'm very arm's length with them, right? These are not my friends, but they are absolutely part of my family and part of the experience, this Big Brother Canada experience that has been going on now for 11 years, 12 years.
It's wild. It's very
Yeah.
exciting. Well, speaking of returning players, obviously you have Anthony and Victoria back this season. Can you talk to me a little bit about picking those two? Were they at the top of your wish list? And like, what is that process like? Are you kind of thinking about who would make it fun, who's strategic, what two people would be good together in the house? Like, how does that come about and why them?
Okay, well, we have a rolling list always, 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 always. And I can't imagine any type of top 10 list without both of these players. So there's a million and one considerations, right? Which is who else is in the cast, whether a relationship could make their game harder or easier, because there's pros and cons to everyone. But these are two incredibly compelling characters, both who didn't win. So I was very eager to see both of these players play, no question about it. I can break down sort of each of them
Yeah,
here if you like. I mean,
I love it.
Anthony Douglas is like a god tier player. He really is. I mean, there are few people who I've seen play this game, and I mean across North America, with this much dominance. In season 7, we saw him, as part of the most successful Big Brother Canada alliance of all time, the Pretty Boys, and he made it right to the end and didn't win. And he'll say it himself, he just did not understand some of the mechanics of how jury management works. And it's not just getting to the end, it's
Yeah.
getting to the end and potentially having blindsided or backstabbed people that you've worked with, and still letting them leave the game with a good taste in their mouth and have them want to be part of your success. That's something he didn't know. And what was so interesting in watching him in season 7 was he was picking up the game as it went, not unlike Todd. He was picking it up, and it was incredible to watch that real time, how he wasn't a super fan, and he became like the go-to strategist for his entire group. What are we going to say? Like, he was handing out scripts then, he's handing out scripts now. Incredible player terrifying. Wow. But I think you could put him up against any of the greats, and I'll say that right here. I said what I said. Now Victoria is absolute pleasure to watch. She's an incredible social player, and she is a super fan. So she comes into the game with a different type of knowledge base and thinking of all those big moves that other players have made in the past. She's so chaotic, but she is a brilliant player. Now, here's the issue. Okay. A
Yeah.
lot of people are saying, well, you know, it's too much of an advantage to have them safe for a week and also HOH. We could have had very different circumstances and had them go out second and third, and then it would be like, this is so unfair. Why did they only get 1 week? Why didn't, do you know what I mean? There's a million, oh, and then one of them couldn't play for the next, like, there's a million advantages and disadvantages that come to play in a season like this. So while there are definitely advantages to, these are not regular players. Anthony and Spicy V are so good at this game. So that is an advantage, of course. But the disadvantage, and the other side of that, that very obvious fact, is that other people have seen them play. There are so many super fans in this cast. So you're telling me Anthony is playing literally the same game that he played in 7, which is have deep emotional bonds, right? Do not win any competition, because his power lies in advising the people in power and not holding it and therefore showing his cards, and skating through to the end without hitting the block. This man has not touched the block in 2 seasons. That is a huge disadvantage that people know their gameplay. Spicy V, again, incredible player, super chaotic, sometimes puts her loyalty in the wrong people, can make mistakes, but manages to slide through just in such an unbelievable, like she could have been caught out how many times so far this season and has still not hit the block. It's unbelievable. But people have seen her play. They know how she plays. They know which relationships she tends to gravitate towards. So that's a huge disadvantage. The question is, who are the players that are going to make the most of that? And what we saw this season was, even though, you know, they made that pact, they already had their chance. This is our turn now. Like, how fast did that evaporate? Like in 5 minutes?
Yep.
Um, very easy for us to say out here.
Yeah.
And I know some people are asking, you know, well, you know, don't they see it? Don't they know? I think, and this is the case for 19, because again, these players they've seen BB19. They've
Yep.
seen they've seen any number of seasons where there was 1 or 2 or 4 or 6 returning players, and they almost always win, right?
Yeah.
You'd think that they would know, oh man, this person could be lying to me. I know they're working with other people. The problem is they do see how great these players are, but they believe they're on side with them.
Yep.
That's the magic. That's what Paul did. It wasn't
But what
just
Paul?
all these people.
Yeah.
It was that he was the third in like 3 different trios, and they all believed he was working with them only. Like, I'll never forget Raven B. Like, but I was the real one. Remember? Oh, honey, maybe best jury segment ever. So I think watching how new players and super fans handle players with that kind of dominance has been fascinating. So, I mean, for me, for Big Brother, it's like pizza. Like, even if it's bad, it's really good because, you know, I'm here for the strategy. I'm here for the gameplay. I'm here for people getting themselves out of sticky situations. I'm here for the conflict. And I'm here for that feeling of watching it going, what would I do? What would I
Yeah.
do in this circumstance? Would I throw in the towel or would I find a way? And oh, wow, I can see it because, of course, we have, you know, the bird's eye view on the whole game. That stuff is just the magic of the season. And throw in these incredible other players. Like, I know I've just talked about Anthony and Spicy, but what an amazing final 5.
Very exciting. Can you talk to me a little bit about the rest of them? Todd, Bailey.
Yes.
Who's the other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Todd. So here's
Yeah.
someone who also was learning the game on the fly. And I feel like at the beginning of the season, I wasn't sure if everyone got him. Got him. But I think, you know, you're out early and people haven't gotten to see like all of the colors, because I think at the end of a season, all of the colors of every house guests are shown. Like, I think that is one thing that I can't say about our show. It's a comedy, it's a romance, it's a drama, it's a horror, it's all these things. But by the end, you've seen a really full picture of a player. And for Todd, I think people really get him now. Like, he's really a really fascinating player because he's much deeper than what meets the eye. And that kind of is part of his charm. Like, he giggles after every DR. Like, that's a real thing. He did that in casting. So he's been phenomenal to watch because he's been picking it up and picking up things from better players and worse players. But he is an underdog because of that. And so
Yep.
he's been fascinating to watch. I think, you know, and he said it in I think in the double, that he's like, oh, I love this game so much. And I also hate it, but I love it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and now we can talk about Lexus.
Yes.
Lexus. Lexus is another person who I think is picking it up on the fly, but she's so unique in that she's not, she doesn't show what she's thinking. She can say a thing to someone in the house and then DR, you find out what she's really thinking. But wow, does she ever hold her cards close to her chest, which is such an important skill in Big Brother. Some people are unable to do that. She can do that. Miss Ice Queen is so fun to watch in there because she's a bad bee. She's not just someone being dragged to the end because she is a competitor. She's won multiple competitions. She's been part of groups and also not part of groups and had to see with people's actions what really was happening. So I think in some ways she's a lot clearer eyed than some of the other house guests because she kind of had her teams and then had them warring. So that's been fascinating to watch. She's been incredible. And of course we have Bailey. Like,
She's been fun.
hey, what a fun, smart, like another bad beat playing, right? Someone who
Yep.
knows the game really, really well, who is there to win, absolutely has killer instinct. There's nothing I hate more than seeing a player, sit down and accept their fate. And she will never do that. She will be up in someone's face and say, you will not do this thing. And I love to see that because I think, when you're at home watching, sometimes you're watching these players like, I wish I could be more like that. And I think she's one of those people because um, she's always thinking. She's so much fun to be around. She really embraces the joy of this game because it can be really joyful. It can be also really, really hard. But people who are like, oh, you got a challenge? Give it to me. Give me everything you got. When I watched her face, when mealworms and blood and smelly, all that was being thrown at her, I could see it in her eyes. I'm like, she's winning this competition, and she won that competition. So I am thrilled by who we have in our final five. I think as my mom would say, and she has a West Indian saying for everything, any number could play, because I could see legitimately a final two with any of these players, and I will be thrilled. I cannot wait to award this massive prize to one of them because they deserve it.
Yeah. Well, and as we're getting up to the finale, I know everyone's sort of leading up to like it's going to be Anthony versus Spicy. Like at some point, one's got to hit the other. It's time, right? Like it's not. We're at final five. Do you think it's time for them to sort of go after each other now?
Listen, Sharon's gloves off, okay? Gloves are off. I feel like this has been brewing for a long time. A lot of proxy wars, right?
Yeah.
Some people were saying it's the battle of the minions, it's the custody battle. I don't think anyone's a minion anymore at final five. So here's the thing. This is, of course, the question of the whole season. Will Anthony and Victoria make it to final two like they pledged each other at the beginning of the game? Or are they going to have to come to blows, metaphorically, of course? It's really a matter to me of who strikes first.
And how
Because
does that affect the jury too, right? Like,
yeah, that's right. Because depending on whose team you are, and there's a lot of crossover, right? A lot of people in jury were on both of these players' teams at different times, or even on paper, because we saw a lot of these, what looked like at the beginning, very important and very serious alliances. They were alliances of convenience, which
yeah.
often is the case in Big Brother. So I can't wait to see it. Like, if they make it to final two, let's go. If one of them strikes first, let's go. And let's see how they do it. Because of course, a superior player does it right.
Yep.
A superior player might do it right on paper, but miss one crucial thing or make one crucial error that can affect their chances of making it to the end, if not winning. So I don't think I've ever been more excited for what's to come, because everybody has winner equity, everybody, depending on who they're with and how they got there.
Yep. No, it's very exciting. And obviously, Arisa, you're the host. You're a fan of Big Brother, of these social strategy shows. You became an
Charged.
you became an executive producer in 2020, which was very exciting. Was that always sort of the trajectory you wanted, was to be an executive producer? And how did that sort of change your day to day when it comes to Big Brother?
Well, okay, so I'm 45 years old. I started in TV. I'm bringing it back. I started in TV when I was 21. I went to university for journalism. I started as a news reporter, and ended up on a reality show for a year, living on camera with live feeds. And in the space between that and becoming the host of Big Brother, I done everything, like you name it: producing, writing, entertainment, news, again, associate producing, overnight writing. I think all of these skills, like, absolutely have a place in my role as host. And then on top of that, to become an executive producer I feel like that was the natural progression, because it'd be different, I think, if I was just phoning it in. If this was just a job to me, maybe it would be different. But I actually think things worked out the way they were supposed to, because having all those years under my belt as a host, so like 1 foot in production, 1 foot out. I used to not be part of casting at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even want to see the brief. I wanted to find out in the cast drop when everyone else did. That's how I felt, because I felt my role was um, to be this version of a person watching the show and knowing what a person watching the show and the feeds would think and feel. And I think without all of that history and that experience in that role, I don't think I would have fully appreciated um, the places in which we can actually turn it up, the places that we can improve the experience for the house guests, the way we can improve equity, the way we can improve the experience for fans watching at home. I think it's just, it's all building blocks, right? And I think now of who I was when the show first started in 2013, I'm just as excited as I was then. Like that will, I feel like that will never change. I could be doing this for 20 more years, and every single time it will feel like this. And I hope this feeling never goes away, you know, and I'm so grateful that fans of Big Brother, like around the world, and also Canadian fans can be really proud of the level of production value that we're bringing, these incredible casts. I feel like you can hold us up against any massive production with probably 20 times the budget that we have. And that I'm really, really proud of. And that goes for everyone, for styling and costume, for design, for twists, for competitions, for um, every aspect of how we make this production super extra, because we are the most extra production in Canada. The most extra. We are so over the top. We always do too much.
I think it's fun.
It's fun, right? I think people forget about that sometimes, you know, especially like when you get into analyzing gameplay, strategy, all of that. I think sometimes people forget that this also is fun. Like this is a weird thing that these people are doing and that we're watching. And I feel like I never want to forget that and have that sense of joy coming into each season.
Yeah, and that's why it's cool that you're an executive producer. You're also someone who like loves the show so much, and I appreciate as a host that you're so involved because I do think it makes a difference, like a big difference. But yeah, and then I'm you know, I know there's like not the negative side of things, but the tougher side of things where you see people on Twitter, you see what the fans are saying, you're aware of all this stuff, but as an executive producer, obviously there are business decisions that also have to be made. There's way more people involved than just you, or just, you know, it's way more complicated. And how do you sort of navigate that when fans are like, but what about the live feeds? Like, how do you, I guess, take that in? Because, you know, you're a fan too. Like, of course you would want the live feeds if it was possible.
Yes, I think that is that's just reality coming to smack you in the face.
Yep.
And I think anyone who is a professional in any sense, and I know we have a lot of like teenagers, for example, who watch the show and might not ever think of um, any other considerations that we might have. You know, Canada has a small population. We don't have, you know, America has 10 times the population we do. So there is some leeway that we just wouldn't be able to have. I think any kind of grown up is like, yeah, sometimes you can't get what you want, and you have to continue, you have to persevere, you have to do the best you can still, and still provide value. And I think that's how I feel for fans. I think I've always had to have a super thick skin regardless. Again, you know, many, many years ago, like over 20 years ago, I was on a reality show, and a lot of people had a lot to say even then. This was before Twitter. Some people are going to freak out, but this was before like YouTube. Okay. Thank God, because no one needs to see any of that footage.
Yeah, that
Um,
works out. That works out great for you. I wouldn't want that footage anywhere.
so thankful for that. But I think it's very easy to be a critic, and it's also hard when you know how hard everyone is working to make something happen.
Mhm.
But you have to rely on that thick skin, because there are creators and there are critics, and you have to be able to create. You have to be able to create without being hung up so much on all of the limitations. And what if someone says this? What if someone says this? Someone will always say something. You know, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I have these conversations with her all the time because she gets protective. She'll go online and say,
Oh no.
and right, I don't understand. Like, she does not have her own Twitter or Instagram, anything like that. But she feels it, you know, for me. And I think I want her as a young woman to understand that everyone has an opinion, and that doesn't necessarily change how you conduct yourself, how you live your life. Because if you don't know who you are, people will line up around the block to tell you who you are, and they could be way, way off. They don't know you.
Mm.
So that helps. I think having perspective through the eyes of a young person really, really helps me be like, okay, you know what? It might hurt to hear, but this person, this is their truth and they can speak it, and I can feel it and I can empathize and I understand, but that doesn't mean I necessarily have the power to change everything.
Yeah.
So in regards to the live feeds, like I'll never not be heartbroken because live feeds are part of the original conceit of Big Brother. There's no question. It brings such an incredible texture to the show. And then when I get feeling that deeply, because it really does feel like there was a golden age, you know, and there are
Yeah.
people who legitimately mourn that, and I feel that deeply. But then I have to remember, okay, in the rest of the reality show world, all the shows, all our favorite shows, Survivor, Amazing Race, The Traitors, The Challenge, you know, The Bachelor, Selling Sunset, all these shows do not have that component and still manage to make incredible television that we cannot wait to watch. So that is how I go to sleep at night, that fact that it's possible. So for me, as a host and as an executive producer and as a huge fan of this show, if I have to choose between having this show with no feeds or having no show, I will choose the show every time. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And so I can only move forward. And I understand why for some people it's no longer for them. I get it, you know, um, but it's going to be okay. You know, if you, if you have to move, I totally understand and I don't fault you for that, you know. But for the rest of us, for all the people who work so hard to make this show, pour their blood, sweat, and tears, all of the people on production, all the fans who love this show still, all the house guests who played this game, all these people who live and eat and breathe it, we got to keep it moving. We got
Yeah.
to keep, do we have a great show to make? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yes. And you guys do a great job. And I don't want to disparage other franchises, but you guys do a great job of a lot of things that I on a smaller budget probably too. And one of them is like you do listen to feedback. And last year, I know with the digital dailies, it was a little jarring because you're going from live feeds to that. But you know, sort of we see an evolution this season where you're, you know, adding timestamps and you're being more like showing more strategic conversations. Was that on, I'm assuming on purpose? And then if you guys do get another season, is that something you could see evolving even more possibly?
I think that's always the case. We're always going to strive to do better. A lot of what we do is trial and error. Some things work really, really well. Some things you try and they don't work. I think every season, the offerings that we have for the fans who want more than just the regular 3 shows a week, we are going to continue improving. I think that's no question. We'll always do that. I think I can't think of one thing that we've like, man, we'll just like forget about it. Like this is something we're always working on. How can we do better? How can we provide more for our fans? And so I have no doubt things will continue to improve no matter, I sound like a politician. I hate that.
No, but
It's true.
it's true. No, I appreciate that. All right, I'd be remiss not to ask, and I'm sure people are screaming at me, but like we haven't had a full, you know, all-star season. We're 12 seasons in. Is this something that's feasible, do you think? Can we see this happening?
Let's see. So I love the show and I love so many of the characters who have graced our screens in years past. I mean, I could see just like personally, I think my bench is like 40 players. There are
Wow.
minimum 40 players I would want to watch again play. And sometimes they had a bad break. Sometimes there was a mistake made and we lost like an iconic player early. That happens all the time. I think a lot of people have a lot of crossover with probably 20 players, but my bench is so much deeper because I have such an intimate view on all of these players. And like, I don't want to sound like I'm 100 years old or anything, but I do feel like personally connected to all of them. I feel like they're my kids, and I want everyone to have a second chance to play. So in a perfect world, we have like 20 more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
We hit every concept we've ever wanted to try. My DM over the years is just filled with people who've come to me with ideas that sometimes they think are original ideas. And we have cycled through all we do is think of new things and new ways to look at this game. So, and it's not to say that all-star seasons are amazing. Some are not.
We know.
I I famously really enjoy a newbie season or a vet season, like separate.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I had to throw that out was because season 5 happened, one of my absolute hands down favorite seasons of Big Brother Canada. And that was a half season and some of the best television I have ever seen. So when it came to, okay, we're going to try this, I was like, again, I will never say no, because I do want to keep trying things and I don't want it to get stale and old. And I want it to continue to hit all kinds of different marks. So is there a possibility for the future? Absolutely. I think there's a ton of players people would love to see and root for again. And I think there's a lot of house guests who would go back.
Oh, yeah.
Again, we don't have an unlimited amount to make our show great. Yeah. But I think specifically with our show, so many house guests would come back just because they get that chance. It's a very addictive feeling being on a show like this, where people really are listening to every word you say and analyzing it and breaking it down, and you get your cute outfits off and you get your cute sayings off, and you know what I mean? Like and you develop a fan base. All of that is pretty amazing stuff. And you just don't get that on Canadian television in the way you do with Big Brother Canada. So I think, it's in, over 40 countries, and every country has their own version and everyone has their own flavor. In this country, it is shocking that we've had 12 seasons, that we're in our 12th season. It's shocking. It just like does not happen. And I think what's been so great is that we're able to show Canadians a version of themselves that they simply cannot get anywhere else on any other Big Brother, wherever it is. And I would put some of our players up against any players on the planet for this game. A Canadian would be winning.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm into it.
I said
Let's
it.
do it. Oh gosh. So wait, you're not going to play favorites. Like you said, these are your children, but is there like one or two names that you're like, okay, I would definitely want to see this person play again? Or are you keeping it?
Of course. I got to keep it zipped on this one. I think, again, like, would you agree that there's like a good, I'd say 15, 20 that are kind of like everyone would agree would be interesting to watch no matter what season. So no, I mean, you try for the moon, you get what you get, and then every year we have a completely banana season that you would not have been able to predict. So yes, there are those I have my eye on, but I assume most of them are people that other people do too. But again, I love some of the people who just didn't make it far. Like, think about Ika. Ika in her first season did not make jury, yet was part of maybe one of the most iconic moments in Big Brother history, full stop, not even just Big Brother Canada. And to see her play again and make it to Final Four and play such an incredible game, like, these are people that might not on paper have a second chance because they didn't go far enough. But I have my eye on so many iconic players who went out early. And so that's why I can't even imagine a list of players that I don't want to see. I don't think that would come out of my mouth. There are people who went first who I'm like, I would like to see try again, So
yeah,
I can't give you a direct answer on this because I really fall in love with each and every player. I'm devastated when that player gets voted out. And then one of the absolute best parts of my job is that I know that I am part of like literally the best day of someone's life. That means so much to me. Like, that is This is not an easy game. It looks so easy from the outside. It is so, so difficult in ways that even can't be fully expressed through the screen. That isolation, that not knowing if you can trust people, people take that for granted. Being able to disengage and just have like, social recharge time. Like these players do not get that. And so I feel what they feel so deeply. That I root for them so hard. And when I give a player a hug outside, whether they've messed up, made a terrible move, evicted an ally based on a lie, completely gotten snowed, that feeling I have for them is so real no matter what. And I want to make sure when they walk out of the house that they see my face and they know that, I feel it. I feel it. I'm not just looking at them as a character. I'm looking at them as a real person who, yes, we're part of this social experiment that for us is entertainment. For them, it's not. It's their actual life. It's their actual day-to-day, who they talk to, what orders they have to take, a schedule that they are not in charge of. They don't know if they're getting fresh air. They don't know if a twist is about to hit them. They don't know if everybody is laughing at them behind their back or if everybody is cheering. They don't know any of that stuff. So when they come out, it's really, really important for me to be that face that goes, I get it. I get it. I see you. Maybe you didn't win. That's okay because you made somebody's life,
Yeah, Arisa, this is why I think everyone loves you. And you, the thing that you do well that I've also been trying to do is like, you still have to ask those tough questions, right? If someone makes a mistake or they do something stupid, but you also want to be compassionate and realize they're a human and try to be kind. So I don't know about you, but I'm always like in my interviews, sort of trying to ride that line of showing compassion for the person, but also like making sure that as a journalist, I'm hitting the questions that I know people want answered.
100%. And I have been that. I was an entertainment journalist for a long time. And that's always you could go into a film junket, you have 4 minutes
Yep.
to like, by the time your mic is on, you have
They're
to establish,
rolling. They're like, hurry up.
hurry up. They're tired. They want water. They're in a different city. They just want to go back to their hotel room and chill out. And you have to establish a rapport with them. You have to ask the questions that your outlet needs. You also have to find a way around the questions you've been told not to ask.
Yep.
Which am I? Where's the lie? Right? Like there is
There's no lie.
it's a fine art because if you also connect really deeply with someone, even in such a quick time or a quick amount of time, you can approach a question in a different way and get an answer that no one else will get if you do it right. So it is a fine art. I fully appreciate that. And for the house guests, that's tough because do I want to say? Remember, we used to have an after show.
Yeah, I know.
Season 2, 3, and 4, we had after shows that ranged from half hour to an hour long, where we were able to chop it up on such a deeper level with the house guests who were evicted, with past house guests. We'd bring in special guests. I mean, that was lovely. Like when Rachel Riley graced us with her presence, when Dan was here, when we had this constant stream of players from Canada and the US, and we could really have that moment to like go deep. We don't have that anymore. So in a very short interview, you've got to kind of convey maybe the two headlines. And the reason why some people are like, oh, why did Arisa let them off the hook? Why didn't she slam her to the ground with XYZ fact? Because the real world is gonna do that.
Right, exactly.
You will do that on the couch. You know what I mean? You will do it on the couch. So I feel like I don't have to break anyone's spirit. Again, my mom, of course, she would always say, always leave someone with their dignity. And in a weird way, you see that in Big Brother all the time when it comes to the end game, because the people who are able to outplay and outmaneuver each other, but still allow that person their dignity, that can be rewarded in a vote at the end. And that can be part of your journey to winning the game. So I feel like it's honestly a joke between my daughter and I, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm basically raising the ultimate reality show player.
Okay.
Specifically Survivor, but I'm just, she's a champion swimmer. She's really good at strategy and a puzzler like myself. But when we talk about this, it's always, but what could you do better? If this person went back, what could they do better to make that person feel like they still have a stake in your victory? And that is that's the stuff. That's the magic, right? That's the magic of every great player. We also have this game where I can take any world issue and relate it to Big Brother. And I mean anything. In
What?
season 6, what we saw was in the end game of 10, what we saw, what I think Big Brother is a show, but it's also life in a million different ways. And if you're lucky, you're not going through your life lying and scheming. But in small ways, we are constantly playing some kind of social game. And if you're lucky, it doesn't bite you in your ass.
Exactly, exactly. Um, do you I would love to see a woman win this season. Can I just say, would you like to see that?
I
It's been a
would like to
minute.
see, I would like to see a worthy winner.
Okay,
I
fair.
will always listen, I will always defer to a worthy winner. So if that happens to be a woman, are you kidding? I would love that.
Yeah,
How many women winners do we have? 3, right? Out of 10 full seasons.
it's been a couple
Um,
years. Yeah,
yeah, it's been a couple years. Um, but again, I just want to see someone who plays their heart out, who plays their
yeah,
heart out. And if it's not a woman, I'll take it if that person deserves it. And I think that's kind of how a lot of people see the seasons at the end. Like we've seen seasons where you can't stand the person who makes it to the end. But if you're lucky, even at the end, you might say, yeah, but they really played. They
yeah,
played every second of every day. How can you not award them the win? And I think that sometimes takes the sting off of any kind of personal feeling you have towards a house guest. If they outplay the rest, then that's a wrap. Like I will be the happiest person. And yes, I love the idea of a huge spread of all kinds of different people who've played and won the game. And I think we are going to continue to see different kinds of winners because I think changes in casting, changes in competitions, changes in twists, all of these things are making it easier for kind of anyone to win based on how well they can play this game. And that's what I've always wanted to see. I mean, nothing is fair in Big Brother in a way, right? Just
hmm
like,
yep,
but I think it is part of our job as producers to, when we lay all the traps, I say we like lay out all the traps before the season starts. And then we let real people free in that maze. Um, I want that table to be flat and not like this to start off with, right? And I think for a long time, especially players or people who've been watching Big Brother for a long time, there's definitely times where it feels like that,
yep,
where it feels like you have to be a certain body type, you have to be a certain ethnicity, you have to be et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Age, pretty, handsome, ripped, like all those things. And I think we are gonna keep seeing different kinds of people, and that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy.
yeah. And I'm props to Big Brother Canada because I do think you guys were sort of doing that all along. Well, I know in 2020 when you became an executive producer, you got more involved with casting and it got even better. But I do think BB Can has been doing it right for a lot of years, more than some others. But that was just me.
That was, and in that regards, I just want to shout out not only Robin Cass because she's been part of our casting team since the beginning, and I think that says a lot because you see what kind of things we're looking for compared to other places.
Yeah,
Um, but also our executive producer, Aaron Brock and John Brenton from Insight, they really were like, let's do the damn thing. And, when there's an appetite for things to change is when you really have to change. Because, if suddenly everyone has a different kind of mindset on something that people just took for granted, the status quo, like that is the time to experiment, push the envelope. If you fall on your face, okay, but you have to try. It's the only way we get anywhere. I mean, once upon a time, you would never see a Black woman hosting an international franchise with natural hair. Like you didn't see this on TV. And it's not a big deal now.
yeah.
you know, I quit a job because they told me I had to straighten my hair. All of these things slowly but surely become the norm. Um, and that's what I want for, you know, for my three kids as they grow up. I don't want them to feel like they can't do a certain thing because they look a certain way or because they don't look a certain way. Um, so I just like credit to all the people who really care deeply about the impact that this show can have, because it's like it's just Big Brother,
I
but it can
know.
be so much more. You know, it can be so much more.
It's a silly little show, but it does sort of reflect on a lot more
Mhm.
than just, well, Arissa, I could talk to you all day about everything. I don't want to steal your time, but what are you excited as we are getting into the finale? Like, I know you can't say much. Anything you can tease, anything you're most excited for fans to see as we approach the end game here?
Well, we've got some amazing competitions coming up, and the gameplay, Sharon.
Yes.
I, uh, like there are moments where I have been absolutely speechless. And again, by some of the best playing we've seen and some of the absolute worst. Like, I mean, worst, like someone's gonna go home and watch it and be like, oh my gosh, how come my brain was in a blender? House does things to you. And again, just respect to all our new players. Um, they're not playing against just regular returning players. They're playing against some of the best. Does that mean the best will end up in the finale? I don't know how this will age, but probably not, right? Or it'll be the opposite and it'll be like, I can't believe we just witnessed that level of game in real time. And what a great time to be alive. What a great time to be a Big Brother fan.
Yes. No, I'm so excited. I think it's going to be a fun, well, definitely this week is going to be fun. And then we'll see what happens at the finale. Again, thank you, Arissa. You're the best.
I'm just I'm thrilled. Thank you so much for spending the time with me too. Like I don't get to
Of
do this too
course.
often. Life is absolute chaos, but I love seeing your interviews. I think you're like
Oh,
one of the best to ever do it, and I was absolutely like, okay, let's make this happen, because um I think it's very easy to be like either like fully like googly eyed or to be a full hater. It's so easy, right? It's so much harder to find the nuance and to really like lean into those shades of gray in between black and white. And we value criticism like that because I think that's how we grow. So thanks for watching.